trying to stream out on YouTube is a bed of roses either, of course. These guys just do not like free speech. So anyway, coming up in just under 11 minutes time. Copyright free Facebook. Any excuse to pull the show from Facebook, or some of it. Copyright free Facebook. Did it. No idea what we're going to talk about tonight. I got no idea. It's such a quiet news day. Fire, you're on fire, hands on fire. Dear Teresa, please resign again, just for fun. Go on. Fire, Lib Con on fire, well, Lab Con on fire, Hello, what's going on there? Fire, SW1 on fire. Brussels is on fire. Hold on, what happened to that then? Oh no, here we go. Copyright free Facebook, copyright free Nick Clegg. Oh yeah, blimey. Censorious pain up the bum, I tell you.
I'm feeling so hollow.
Oh yeah.
Don't you know?
Yeah.
Don't you know?
I tell you, we know it.
I'm living in in shadow.
Yeah, a bit like Theresa May last
Don't
week.
you know?
Hiding behind the sofa.
And don't you know?
It was like when I was a kid watching
I
Doctor
fell
Who.
for fool's gold. I fell for fool's gold. What did I know? What did I know?
We stopped voting for them, it's
I
alright.
fell for fool's gold. I fell for fool's gold. What did I know? What did I know? You were fool's gold. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
All for love.
And I did it all for love. Yes, I did it all for love. Oh. They say fools believe in it.
Hey, Robin, how you doing?
Good.
Good on you, mate. Good. Lovely. 5 minutes. 4 minutes. 4.5 minutes.
I fell for fool's gold.
What was your prediction the other day? But you and Bill, you bet a quid, didn't you?
He won. I said it was for the East Midlands, and he said it would be somewhere between 38 and 41. I think he said.
I'm going to fact check you. All right. I know you lost your quid.
You were fool's gold. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Fell for the phony manifestos, but not again. Fell for that'll be 3 minutes. Copyright free Facebook. So tedious having to say that with every track. Hello. When you're ready. Just fill in the gaps, people. My computer's doing what Facebook does. Nice. 1 minute, people, and 10 seconds. Good lord. Yeah, hold on. There you go. Copyright free. You don't honestly think I mean, it's got to be copyright free. Come on, have you heard it? That's not entirely fair. This is Stuart Bogey, bless him. Very much appreciate the music. Thank you, Stuart. Right. Oh, that's it. That's it. You're late. Hey folks, good evening, good people. Welcome to the Daily Brexit. Holding democracy to account, fighting for self-determination and exposing plutocracy. I'm Olly Connelly. Thanks for turning up. Now, the night everything changed. The Brexit Party on a meteoric trajectory. Labour humbled, the Tories crumbled. The Lib Dems becoming the party of Remain. The Greens on the up. Change UK stalled. UKIP scuppered. Are you not entertained? I mean, that's just the UK. Robin Horsley from the Great Brexit Debate trades popcorn, looking ahead to Peterborough and in how to hold this exposed government and its EU media mouthpiece to the democratic choice for Brexit. Taking your calls, UK national number at the top of the spiel. And we'll see you in the comments. Please help the show, paypal.me/Brexit. Please, 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 if you can afford a few quid. Thank you. And please share the thing, like the page. Yeah, share the show, folks. Let folks know we're talking, we're thinking, we're watching. We are active. I'll tell you what, there was a bit of activity going on last night, wasn't there? Good evening, Mr. Horsley, sir. Mr. H, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks, Ollie.
Alrighty, okay. Going to go through some of the Fake Stream's take on what happened last night before we get into the guts of the show and take your comments and what have you and whatnot. So this was a spiel from the old newsstands this morning. The Daily Fail. Farage plunges dagger as civil war breaks out over PM front runners number. No deal stance. Knives out for Boris. The Daily Telegraph, Bildergraph, whatever. Humiliation for Tories as Farage storms EU poll. Times, Farage surge sends main parties into meltdown. And so on and so forth. The Sun will EU lot get it? Now will you lot get it? Get it. Sexpress now give us the Brexit we voted for. Graniad will bring you down. Top Tories warn hard Brexiters. With a picture of Mr. Gove there. And I for independent, not so independent, Saudi-owned independent, whatever it is. Voters turn against Tories and Labour. FT, another EU rag. Line of duty, EU voters turn out in numbers. What were the numbers, Robin, more or less, do you know, for this takeout? What sort of numbers were we talking about? It was quite a bit up on what it normally is for these things, no?
Yeah, it was. I read earlier overall in Europe it was over 50%, which is the highest for 20 years. I'm just looking for turnout figures for the UK, though. Just bear with me a second.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Okay, no worries. I love Dellingpol's headline here on Breitbart, their top story this evening. People voting Brexit Party just didn't know what they were voting for. Oh, good on you, man. Good on you. I'm going to read you a bit of what he says, actually, because I think he sums it up very well. Now that Nigel Farage's Brexit Party has cleaned up in the EU elections, its 29-seat victory, making it the joint largest party in the entire European Parliament, the message about the political mood in Britain could not be clearer. Britain must remain in the EU. At least that's the conclusion currently being touted by the losing Remainers, who appear to be having a bit of a downfall moment as they attempt to move their non-existent divisions across their imaginary sand table in pursuit of the victory their loopy, deluded brains imagine is now inevitable. Here is our old friend, Anna Soubry, caught by Sky News heroically maintaining that even though her pro-Remain Change UK party won precisely 0 seats in the EU elections, it really hadn't been a bad night for them at all, because they got 600,000 votes. The Brexit Party, by the way, got over 5 million votes. Even more actually, let's have a listen to this just for fun. Hold on, what have I done there? I just pressed the wrong thing. Oh yeah, let's have a listen. She's always game for a laugh. God bless her. I'll tell you. We're going to miss her when she's kicked out on the dole.
I banged my head on the way into the studio this morning. I had Alistair Campbell a few minutes ago telling me that Nigel Farage will be disappointed with last night's result. And I've got you telling me that Change UK actually wasn't a bad night for us at all. You didn't win any seats in the European Parliament.
Oh, I know the facts. Do forgive me. I'm trying to give you the facts. And 600,000 people voted for Change.
Oh, what about there? Hold on, she was just getting into her thing.
I have to say, Mr.
Oh, okay, all right, never mind. Anyway, we know what she says. We know what she always says. Unbelievable. Even more impressive is the Enron-style creative accounting going on at the BBC, which is insisting that what we've just experienced is a Remain surge. Yes, it even has its own hashtag, Remain surge. Aye. All that remains now is for someone to tell us straight-faced what Lisa Graves is jocularly telling us in these satirical tweets, such as people voting for the Brexit Party didn't know what they were voting for. And they all just voted because they saw an arrow on the side of a bus. Closest so far is this unintentionally hilarious offering from San Gima. Gima is one of those squishy conservatives in name only who has fought meaningful Brexit tooth and nail, and like sundry Labour MPs would like us to have a second referendum, second chance of democracy, man, because unfortunately the plebby ignorant voters got it wrong first time round. Right, so by Gaia, here we go. Brexit Party won 5.2 million votes, Sam Gima is saying. So the question for Nigel is, where is the rest of the 17.4 million betrayed? So by his inference, the 12.2 million voters who originally voted Brexit have since had second thoughts. This, I fear, is precisely the kind of delusional complacency among the Conservative rank-and-file MPs which threatens to lose them the next general election. I'm delighted by the result, Dellingpol says. On the way to the polling booth, I did briefly wonder whether I was going to give UKIP my sympathy vote for old time's sake. But when I remembered that in any successful military campaign, you pour your forces into strength rather than reinforcing weakness, seeing Annunziata Rees-Mogg's name at the top of my local candidates list was the clincher. Maybe one day her brother Jacob will cross the floor in order to join the governing Brexit Party. I'll tell you, it really makes you wonder, really makes you wonder. Robin, wow, we've got to talk about possible defections tonight a little bit. I mean, what is coming up between now and the next general election is got to be just incredible. It's going to be absolutely unbelievable. Peterborough is the next stop, sir, I suppose. Surely that's in the bag for Brexit Party now.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. Let me just look at let me look at the numbers. By the way, can we just go back to my previous challenge, which was to find out the turnout numbers.
Yes, sir. Yes. Go on.
I was just picking up the news on that. A lot of the European countries turnout. I'm sorry, has leapt considerably. Spain, Poland, 20% more turnout than there was in 2014. UK turnout's a little bit up, but we're only up we're running roughly at about 36%, 37% actually.
Really?
The turnout for 2019, yeah.
Oh, 20.
Yeah, so
oh, blimey, it's true.
for 2019, it's only 37% turnout. So you can kind of work that one out because the number of valid votes counted was 17.2 million.
So what does that tell us? What does that tell us about the validity of this EU political project? If only 37% of folks bother to turn out to vote either way.
Well, look, at the end of the day, it is a lot of people inevitably are going to feel about the EU that it's kind of an irrelevance now because surely we're leaving.
Yeah,
there's inevitably going to be quite a lot of that, and I think the fact is we've never bought into it wholesale. That's why we've always had low turnout figures in this country.
Yes.
That's the reality. The only thing that's really brought people out beyond the sort of low level that we've expected in the past is just a tiny bit extra turnout this time because of the notion of the protest vote, but it's tiny. I mean, the uplift, by the looks of it, if the numbers I've got in front of me are to be believed, which I've sort of cross-checked them, they look about right. Turnout is only up about 1.5%.
Well. Blimey.
If we go to 2014,
yes,
the last time when UKIP topped the poll, there was roughly 16.5 million votes, and now we've got 17.2. So it's a very small uplift.
It is.
UKIP. I mean, let's just compare the numbers just to get a sense of the Brexit Party's achievement. I mean, UKIP absolutely smashed it last time in 2014. And if you remember, UKIP having such an unprecedentedly strong showing in the 2014 EU parliamentary elections, that's really what pushed Cameron to...
That's right. 3.8 million voted for UKIP in that GE. More than voted for the SNP.
More, 4.4.
Sorry?
4.4 million voted for UKIP.
Was it? Wow. And it was more than voted for the SNP, I think.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, it's huge numbers.
Yes.
What the interesting thing though is if you look at percentage of the vote, they got 26.6% of the vote. Now that you would think that would be a real kind of high watermark point for a party that was largely perceived as being a single issue party back then. But the Brexit Party, 6 weeks out of the gate, 6 weeks since launch,
6 weeks,
topped that and got to nearly 31% of the vote.
Yeah.
So 26.6 to 31%. I mean, it's a phenomenal achievement for the Brexit Party. I mean, the thing that's may I go on, Ollie?
Yeah, please do. Yes, fascinating. Thank you.
The thing that's absolutely it has surprised me. Okay, this has surprised me. Now, what happens after every election result? You always find yourself in a position where you're listening to everyone spinning desperately what they've got to say about the result. If they've done badly, then if a particular political party's done badly, then it'll point out the areas in the country where it's done well. Everybody's trying to add some spin to it, but it seems to me that there's a kind of variety here there's a difference here between the Conservatives. Now, the Conservatives generally have accepted where they've made a mistake. It's blindingly obvious, isn't it? They haven't delivered Brexit, and they know that therefore they've paid a terrible price for that in the local elections 2 weeks ago and this election this week. The Labour Party seem to have had a sort of humility bypass. They seem to be in complete denial. Today you've had Keir Starmer, John McDonnell, Jeremy Corbyn, all saying, "Oh yeah, we got it terribly wrong. So what we need now is another referendum." It's like, what? No, it's because you haven't helped deliver. You haven't made your position clear that you absolutely require the delivery of the Brexit result. That's why you've been punished, and you've been punished incredibly badly. You've been whipped in the same way that the Conservatives have been whipped. You've been whipped too.
Yes.
You're down 10 seats.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's so telling. I want to be asking you and pontificating with you about the future for the Labour Party. What's going to happen with those guys if they're going to move over and do something with the Lib Dems, some of these Blairite characters or whatever, leave the Benites to it and all that sort of stuff. We hopefully have a little bit of a think about that. And indeed, with the Tories, and I guess the Chuck Up Party is toast. We might as well just listen to that clip of old Anna Soubry just for fun, yeah? Just to keep us all chivered up. Here she is.
I have to say, Ms. Soubry, I do wonder whether I banged my head on the way into the studio this morning. I had Alistair Campbell a few minutes ago telling me that Nigel Farage will be disappointed with last night's
Sorry.
result. And I've got you telling me that Change UK actually wasn't a bad night for us at all. You didn't win any seats in the European Parliament.
I know the facts. Do forgive me. I'm trying to give you the facts. And 600,000 people voted for Change UK.
Oh, is that it? Oh, that is all that there is. That's absolutely useless. Right, okay, never mind. Okay, so what else is going on? Let's have a quick look. According to Westminster, and we might as well... please, Robin.
Let's just go on. Let me comment on the...
no longer running.
Get rid of him. Sorry, please. Yes.
Comment on Anna Soubry, and let's just look at the numbers. So the Brexit Party got 5.2 million votes. Change UK got 570,000. They got almost just 1 in 10 of the votes, a tenth of the votes that the Brexit Party got. Yeah. I mean, it was the most dire failure possible. I thought last night Anne Widdecombe made a very good point. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, the Liberal Democrats, that's they've done really well, and it's because they are unequivocally." Remain. They've got an unequivocal Remain position. Well, hang on a second. This is nonsense. Go back to the polling for the EU referendum. Now, of Liberal Democrats, only 69% of people who voted in the EU referendum that were Lib Dem voters, only 69% of them voted to Remain. 31% of them voted to leave. The Liberal Democrats are getting a Liberal Democrat vote. Some of that will be a Remain vote. Some of it will be a Leave vote. There's no way you can possibly look at it and say that you can, take the Liberal Democrat vote, add it to Change UK, add it to some of the other parties, and come up with a Remain majority. The fact is that the electorate were given a choice to, if to go out and vote unequivocally for Leave or Remain, and they went out for the Brexit Party with 10 times more votes than it did for Change UK. Now, I'm not denying that some of the Liberal Democrat vote may be people who want to Remain, but a lot of it will be just people who want Liberal Democrats.
Yeah, people that think they're really good, the Lib Dems, at taking the bins, collecting the bins, and I don't know, but that was the local. I don't know if that was the locals.
There are a lot
of people did say that.
You see that because you see the imbalance across the country, depending on what the different makeup is of the different political parties across the country. You see, the Labour Party didn't get hammered as badly in some of the northern areas as you might possibly have expected. That's where they managed to retain some of their seats. They managed to retain 10 of their 20 seats. So they only lost half of them. The Conservatives lost 15, and they've only got 4 left. So they went from 19 to 4. seats. So the Conservatives got hammered pretty much everywhere. The Labour Party didn't get hammered everywhere because there are certain parts of the country where they are obviously, I think what we're seeing is that people were perceiving that the Brexit Party are right of centre. And so people are given the choice, will still vote Labour Party. They know the Brexit Party is going to win. Then, we've known that for a couple of weeks, haven't we?
This is one of the things about this whole Brexit thing, though, isn't it? Is that it's redefined with right and left. I know that the kind of the Remainers, the Remorons, whatever, have been trying to focus this as a kind of a right wing thing and all that. But it is. How can sovereignty be left or right? It's more to do with family and values and having control, not having your vote diluted at the ballot box, for crying out loud, stuff like that. It's got absolutely nothing really to do with left or right. And I think that the electorate is very is increasingly sophisticated. I think it's seeing through that, but we are seeing this big change in politics where these labels, they just don't work anymore in the same way. I suppose particularly, Robin, because off the back of, if you like, the Blairite infiltration of Labour, getting rid of Clause 4 and all that, and turning it from a People's Workers' Party into just some sort of a Tory light type stuff, and then more Tory than Tory for a while, and and then basically much of a mishmash. They've actually done it to themselves, these centrists. The left and right is like, what is the difference? If you're going to go off and do an illegal war, you're a war criminal. Doesn't matter what side you're on. I don't know. If you're going to get bungs and get your dodgy mortgage like Peter Mandelson did and all that, then you know what? It's got nothing to do with left or right, really. I don't know. Look, I want to go through just one or two of the other key things today before we analyse that. And Farage's Brexit Party win EU election. Westminster's take. Nigel Farage's new Brexit Party won the European elections in the UK last night, securing nearly 30 seats. In a dramatic night, the party secured more than 30% of the votes and 28 seats in the EU Parliament so far. Both the Tories and Labour had a terrible evening in the northeast of England. The Brexit Party won 2 of 3 seats, whilst in Wales, they won 2 of 4. That was an amazing result in Wales, actually. No, that really did put pay to a lot of the Welsh Assembly folks, Robin, who've been saying, Wales is so pro-Remain. Wales doesn't want to leave. Yeah. Oh, yeah? Did you see the results last night? I mean, even in Scotland, Robin, the Brexit Party came second after the SNP.
Yeah.
The Liberal Democrats, meanwhile, came second nationally with 15 seats, whilst Labour got only 10 seats and the Greens won 7. The Conservatives were nearly wiped out, down to just 3 MEPs and less than 10% of the vote. And this was a little chat I had with him in Conservative Central Office earlier today. Right. Farage responded to the results by tweeting, "Never before in British politics has a party just 6 weeks old won a national election." I mean, it is absolutely remarkable, isn't it, Robin? I mean, this is unprecedented, not just in the UK, but this EU Parliament. They are going to have a right kick up the bum this next 5 years now. Okay, hold that. We're going to talk about that as well. No, go on. What do you say?
Well, look, I don't think it makes a massive difference actually in the EU.
Really?
If this was a parliament that had the ability to legislate, it would be different, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the things that I think was people kind of missed, and I think the Brexit Party, I have to say, probably missed a trick here. When people were saying to them, what are your policies? Well, why on earth would you need policies if you're becoming members of the European Parliament?
Yeah.
There's absolutely no need to have it.
You're not allowed to use them.
Legislate.
That's right.
It's not like the UK Parliament where some of the members of Parliament that get elected form a government and therefore have to implement their policies.
Mm-hmm.
There is no ability to do that. All the policies
and where MPs stand up for their constituents in the House of Commons and they say Joe Bloggs has got this problem and this is things like Sarah's law. I mean, Things are enacted off the back of real-life problems in the House of Commons, which is one of the reasons why that parliamentary democracy should be so powerful. In the EU, these MEPs, all these MEPs that have been voted in across Europe or whatever, they don't have any say whatsoever. It all comes down from this unelected technocracy.
Let me just explain that for anybody who's not fully aware of that. But I mean, the way that it works is that the initiators of all legislation are the European Commission. So they're the unelected lot, and the European Commission, of which they have about 30,000 people who work for the EU, work for the EU Commission. So that's the bulk of people that are employed by the European Union. They initiate all the legislation. The only powers that the Parliament have are to either amend legislation as it goes through, or to, in extreme cases, it doesn't often happen, to block legislation. In which case, if they block some legislation, so a majority vote against it, it just goes back to the European Commission. It's normally redrafted and introduced again. So it kind of rolls round and around and around until it goes through. It's a little bit like the House of Lords. Is in the UK, is the House of Lords can block things for a period of time, but eventually most legislation has to go through, because the initiators, the ones with the power, are the House of Commons. And the same is true in the European Parliament, but it's the unelected part, the Commission, that has all the power of initiation. So that's why we're in a situation now where, the most powerful political thing that was done in the European Parliament was Nigel Farage making YouTube videos.
Yes, I agree.
That's and you think about it, just step back from this for a minute and think about what Nigel Farage has achieved and what UKIP achieved in the past. They looked at this construct and they went, this is nuts. So what we'll do is we'll get elected to it in order that we've got a platform to be able to protest against it. So they sort of infiltrated in order to be able to protest against it from the inside. And that is really the only value that we've had politically out of the Parliament on the Eurosceptic side, certainly, arguably for the whole country.
Yeah, no, that's completely. I did have a word with Gwaine Towler, Nigel Farage's press man at the Brexit Party earlier, and asked if they could put somebody on tonight to have a chat with us, and basically to have a bit of a laugh at SW1 along with us. And he very kindly came back to me and said, no, because we've got our victory party. So anyway, I will try and get him on, or one of them on later this week, and see what happens there. If Farage continued, if Britain does not leave the EU on October the 31st, these results will be repeated at a general election. History has been made. This is just the beginning. And he has said today, I understand, Robin, that they will be putting up 650 candidates, one for each constituency in the UK, at the next general election, at least if Brexit is not delivered in the meantime. And, my word, it's just a huge earthquake, and it is all so sudden and so incredible. It's just unbelievable, really. I just find it quite flummoxing. Charlotte Jameson's got a lovely little comment saying that she hopes that Anne Widdecombe will wear one of her Strictly dresses on her first day in Brussels. These kind of characters, I can't imagine the likes of Anne Widdecombe not standing up there and telling Tusk exactly what she thinks of him. And I would have thought this would make a difference on the presidential elections coming up now. Is it going to be as easy for them to shoehorn in the likes of Michel Barnier, who, after all, is a failed politician, just as the Junket and all the rest of them failed when they didn't sort out some kind of a deal with David Cameron? How can these political failures continue to dictate the shots when you've got the Salvinis, not just La Liga, but also Five-Star music movement came in second in Italy. You've got all these. Look at Le Pen with what's it called? Thingy National, Rally National, whatever it's called now. Now topping Macron in there. Hopefully Farage talking to some of these characters. I know there's disagreements with some of the policy and what have you, but this is a powerful bloc, Robin. I would have thought that this would make a difference in the... I know we shouldn't be there. We shouldn't have to have done this thing. But the fact is now that we've got two opportunities here. We didn't want it, but we've got it. One is reform UK politics. Well, apparently that's happening. And two is give them a damn good kicking in Brussels. And I don't know, but you really don't see that happening, Robin?
No, I don't. I don't think that. I don't think that's the way that it works. I mean, there's ultimately a point when you, in European elections, where across the whole of Europe, if you had a majority in the Parliament, then you could sort of block EU legislation. You could do sort of what the Brexit Party or UKIP in the past might have done, had they had a complete majority in the Parliament. They could have just brought the legislative process to a standstill by voting against everything, and therefore generating a demand for constitutional change in the way that the EU works. But I don't think it's quite at that level. I don't think the results take it quite to that level. And I think, the fact is that I think, we were talking to Bill Etheridge about this last week, what the motivation is. Mm-hmm. These are people who have got completely absorbed by this idea that the nation state is a terrible thing, is a terrible evil thing.
That's right.
And that what they're building is some, new nirvana of a single European state. And that's what they're heading to, and everything is about putting bricks in that construction. That's what they do day in, day out. That's what they think they're contributing to doing. And I think there's a. It's not just spin that we're hearing in the UK today. We're hearing delusion. We're hearing complete delusion.
Yeah.
I mean, the Labour Party are not even having the humility. What you do. I mean, I have to say the Conservatives are taking the right approach to it. When you've taken a pounding, then you have to first acknowledge it.
Yeah. And
second, be realistic about your analysis of why it's occurred. And the Conservatives pretty much to a man are saying, look, we haven't delivered Brexit. That's what the outcome is the result of.
Well, some of those leadership
opposite.
Some of those leadership contenders, yes, they are. I mean, we're hearing Esther McVey, for example. What is it she's saying? She's saying we must leave the EU with a clean break. Nothing else will wash. So we are getting some sort of more sensible talk from some of these leadership characters. But
not just the leavers on the Conservative side. They are being quite realistic about it. I loved something that Esther McVey tweeted. I think around about lunchtime today, she said, people saying we need a Brexit policy to bring people together are misreading the situation. This is clearly not possible. We need to deliver on the referendum result with a clean break, and then we bring people together by how we govern the country outside the EU. I think she's absolutely right. I think bringing people together for the Conservatives is absurd, and it is exactly what Theresa May thought she was doing by compromising, and all she did was just upset everybody.
Yes.
The simple fact is what you got to do is you got to deliver on the referendum result. That's what everybody's been punished for not delivering on the EU referendum result.
That's right.
And the Lib Dems,
trashing democracy. Sorry, carry on. But for trashing democracy as well. Not exactly endearing.
The Lib Dems are crowing, saying, "Oh, we've done incredibly well. We've absolutely smashed it, and therefore that proves that everybody wants to remain." This is just absolute nonsense. They got 20% of the vote, and they can't even claim that the majority, or sorry, probably maybe they can claim the majority, but they certainly can't claim that all their vote are people that are voting to remain in the UK. There's no evidence for that whatsoever. None.
Yeah.
So it's it's a very, very clear situation here that there is people went out to vote and they said, who are we voting for? The Brexit Party. Why are we voting for the Brexit Party? Because they have one policy, which is Brexit. The clue's in the name. They top the poll by a long way. It's 30%. The second highest vote share are the Liberal Democrats, but they're way down at 20%.
Esther McVey actually said the EU elections were the worst national election results ever for the Conservative Party. The message from our voters is clear. We must leave the EU on the 31st of October with a clean break. Nothing else will wash now. People saying we need a Brexit policy to bring people together are misreading the situation. That is clearly not possible. That's correct. We need to deliver on the referendum result with a clean break, and then we bring people together by how we govern the country outside the EU. And I would have thought that sounded like a pretty logical approach. Meanwhile, I think that the caretaker prime minister, whatever she is now, I was kind of hoping that she'd resign again today, just for fun. But you know, you can't get everything. She called it very disappointing. The results were very disappointing. I think she means devastating, cataclysmic, catastrophic, a rout, meltdown, near obliteration, an utter humiliation, suffocating, crippling, paralyzing, incapacitative, invalidating, disqualifying, deposing, unnerving, emasculating, prostrating, pathetic, a metamorphosis of the Tory base. And portentous. But there you go. She's fun, isn't she? And clearly in great denial. European elections may call a snap election following Tory disaster. The Express is holding a poll of their own for this. The Conservative Party has been almost annihilated at the European elections, where they lost 15 seats, a result suggesting the country doesn't have faith anymore in the government. Should Theresa May call for a snap general election and let a new cabinet deliver Brexit? That ain't just going to happen, is it, Robin? I mean, these folks are just too enmeshed in the gravy train.
I don't think it's going to happen at the moment. I think the difficulty they've got, though, is they've basically got a majority of two now, and I think they're going to find it very, 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 very difficult going forward. The question, the big question is whether or not the Tory Remainers will collapse the government before the October 31st. I think that's the big question that we'll be confronting over the next couple of months. Because if they do that, they'll pay a pretty terrible price at the ballot box.
I'm sorry, Robin. I'm sorry. Please, what was that again? Say that again. I was reading a news tab. I didn't catch that.
So the big question, I think, is whether or not the Conservative Remainers in Parliament, the sort of hardline Remainers, collapse the government, and they could do that by working with Labour with a vote of no confidence in the government.
Well, that's what Dominic Grieve is threatening, isn't it? If he doesn't get the kind of leader he wants, i.e. a Remainer, then he's threatening to topple the gov.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where...
and he's been deselected by his constituency, Beaconsfield. They said they want him out. And by the way, Mr. Nug, whatever your name is, constituency chairman, why has he not been deselected?
We see from their point of view. I mean, this is the thing.
Beaconsfield voted to leave. Sorry, carry on, Robin.
Look, so look at this from the point of view of where does the risk lie? Now, you could say that the Conservative Remainers in Parliament will pay a terrible price at the ballot box if they side with Labour and collapse the government. However, bear in mind that those people have already know that's going to happen anyway. They know that when there is another vote, they're not going to win. They're not going to retain their seats in Parliament. So imagine that you're a very strong Remain MP in a constituency where you're going to lose your seat. Well, you might as well rebel with the Labour Party now.
That's right.
Basically, and even better if you can get a promise from the EU that you'll be given some job in the EU, which is
very likely
a major possibility.
Yeah,
then you're probably going to do it. So, whilst it's nice to have a little bit of a period of jubilance, and I don't wish to, bring a party prematurely to its end. Let's enjoy the result. But it's going to be a very challenging period of months.
No, absolutely, of course, absolutely. They do have some other analysis expressed in this story. Let's have just a quick look, just to see if there's any little nuggets. The European elections dealt a major blow to both the Conservative and Labour parties, who lost seats to the Brexit Party, the Lib Dems and the Green Party. The Tory Party has so far obtained only 8.7% of the votes, losing more than 10% since the last European elections in 2014, when it got 19%. On the other hand, the Brexit Party scooped up more than 30% of the votes, followed by the Lib Dems, which obtaining more than 18%, Lib Dems obtaining more than 18%, achieved their best ever results at a European election. The Brexit Party's result is even more astonishing when compared to the seats gained by other parties in the European Parliament. According to the latest projections, Nigel Farage's movement, founded only 6 weeks ago, has gained the same number of seats, 29, as Angela Merkel's CDU. Mr. Farage has said his Brexit Party is getting ready for the next general election, as he warned, if we don't leave on October the 31st, then the scores you have seen for the Brexit Party today for the European elections will be repeated. The Labour Party, which in the past 2 weeks have been involved in Brexit talks with the government, was also punished for its handling of Brexit and unclear strategy and major losses, going from the 20% gained in 2014 to 14.1. While these results won't have an immediate impact on national politics, they are likely signalling a shift in the electorate's mood and Britain's desire of seeing a reshaped Westminster Parliament. In the aftermath of such a groundbreaking election, the Express is asking whether the Prime Minister should call a snap election, and I don't know why, because she ain't going to do it. But meanwhile, just one other story, just to give you a bit of a flavour of what's going on in Brussels, or what's going to be going on there. Westminster.
Olly, have you got me on the screen still?
I just took you off, actually, Robin.
Yeah.
No, I have been cocking up my desk production. Salvini and Le Pen celebrate EU election victories in Italy and France. Italy's Lega Party and Marine Le Pen's National Rally both claimed victory after a dramatic night of European election results. Exit polls showed Matteo Salvini's Lega to be in first place for the EU election in Italy, polling between 27% and 31%. And it's worth knowing that Five Star Movement came second in Italy as well. The party, which takes a firm stance against illegal immigration and is broadly Eurosceptic, had a clear lead with a third of the votes counted. Meanwhile, France's National Rally won 22 seats in the European Parliament, one more than Emmanuel Macron's party. Marine Le Pen celebrated by saying, "Thank you to all those who have mobilized this victory. It is you who made it possible." I think it's very much the yellow vests that made it possible. You know, before these elections, Robin, quite incredible. I was hearing news clips, even on the BBC were reporting this, actually, from folks donning their gilets jaunes in France, saying how in the past they'd been voting for communists, and one of them said that they'd come over to the UK in the 80s and to support the miners during the confrontation with the Thatcher government, for example. These kind of folks, this kind of mentality, who were telling that BBC News team, for example, that they were planning to vote for Le Pen. I mean, I actually wonder. I think what's happened in France, in a way, is more incredible than what's happened in the UK. Well, no, I don't know. I mean, 6 weeks from nothing to being the first joint party in the EU Parliament is pretty unsurpassable. But nonetheless, I mean, what's happened in France is incredible as well, no?
Yeah, absolutely. Huge news. Yeah.
Can Macron? I mean, the thing is, this is the problem, isn't it? This is the problem we face. It's the likes of these globalists, like Macron, like the Dominic Greaves, all the Ken Clark type club, all the Bilderbergers, all that lot from in these different nation states. They don't give a damn what people do, what they vote, how they vote, what their thought is, if there's likely to be civil unrest on the streets. They don't seem to care about any of that. They only seem to care about, I don't know, looking after their globalist masters.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly the way it is. It's I'm not sure globalist masters, yeah, maybe. I think they're part of a whole kind of group think that is the way to run things. That somehow individual nations shouldn't have the ability to be able to run their own affairs. That all power should be centralised. It's a nutty thing, but because people don't generally kind of understand that's the case, it's only people who are kind of quite close to politics, such as ourselves, that really understand that's actually the motivation. But that's where it's at.
Guido is saying that Rory Stewart has got a backer for leader. Amidst rumours that Rory Stewart's campaign is a ruse, that he is in fact on a suicide mission to attack and destroy the chances of no-deal Brexit candidates. Whibbering news, says Guido, that he has finally the public backing of one MP. Victoria Prentice. Anyway, bit of fun there. Right. So the bottom line now, really, pragmatically, is who is going to be the next Tory leader, and what are they therefore going to be delivering on, Robin?
Yeah, what will they do with it? I mean, there's going to be a huge amount of power play going on now in the Conservative Party. You've seen various people come out over the weekend. Michael Gove came out and announced his candidacy yesterday. I think Steve Baker is the interesting one. I don't know if you've been following what Steve's been up to.
Not as much as you. I know that. Go on, please.
No, I mean, the reason I'm interested in what Steve Baker's up to is because Steve, so he's vice chair or deputy chair, I don't remember what they call it, of the ERG, the European Research Group.
Yeah.
So the Eurosceptic Conservative MPs in Parliament.
Yes.
Now, of all the leadership candidates,
he refused to vote in any of those withdrawal bills as well, didn't he?
Exactly, and he's pretty much unique out of all the candidates for this, that he didn't vote for any of them. Now, if you take the front runners, the two front runners according to the bookies at the moment are Boris well in the lead, with Dominic Raab on his heels, and both of them voted for the deal, for the Prime Minister's deal.
Yes.
I mean, and from Boris's point of view,
Mark III.
he's the guy who described it as being a deal which would put us into vassalage, would make us a vassal state.
That's right.
And then he went and voted for it.
Yeah.
So he actually voted for the thing he identified as being a nightmare.
Moggy too. Foggy
Yeah,
Moggy.
Moggy too, but I mean, he's not running as a candidate.
No,
I think.
sure.
I think
sure.
not quite deluded enough to do that.
No, but the reason I mention him, though, is because he was trying to excuse himself from that. And I wanted to get your opinion on this. He said, I voted in that third, Mark III, because it was better than us not leaving at all. I couldn't believe that I was hearing this from somebody who reckons they're a patriot, frankly. I mean, what is your take on that?
It's complete nonsense, and what it is the same thing you see time and time again with people in the Conservative Party. They put party before nation. It's as simple as that.
That's the line we're going to get from Boris, isn't it? And from I don't know which others actually of the leaders have voted in that. Probably all of them, apart from Steve Baker. Yeah. Did anybody else that is running for leader now, like Steve Baker, refuse the bullying tactics of the whips, refuse to vote for any of those EU treaties that May was putting forward, and the BBC and all the miscreant mainstream media were pretending was a Brexit deal when it was, as you say, a deal for vassalage?
Yeah, absolutely. No, she what how about Esther McVeigh? Did she vote against every time? Because she resigned back in January.
I don't know. This is an interesting one. This is something we will have to look at for another show, and following off on the heels of this. But I mean, she's definitely making the right sounds today, Esther McVeigh. I don't know. Okay, I'm just wondering what else is going on. Is there anything else going on in Fake Stream that is kind of anything that we haven't heard? I guess that have a quick look at Telegraph this is just the beginning. Nigel Farage claims Brexit Party will win next general election if UK fails to leave EU in October. Victorious leader says he doesn't trust any Tory candidate. Sturgeon, that cranky in Scotland, calls for Scottish referendum next year. Well, of course she does. Labour warned it may never recover in Scotland. It's unbelievable. And Boris Johnson is saying the message of this election is clear. If we go on like this, we will be dismissed. Yeah, I mean, my only real hope with this Bojo bloke, to be honest with you, is that he has this kind of Churchill thing going on, this kind of Churchill complex or whatever, that he wants to be this, this great kind of, I don't know, cigar-wielding kind of leader or something. And that he might deliver Brexit out of vanity.
Well, the concern is that my concern with Boris is that we are in exactly the same situation today as we were at the start of the leadership election in 2016. We've had the front runner making a very pro-Brexit commitment. Theresa May said Brexit means Brexit. Boris Johnson has said we will leave on the 31st of October, deal or no deal. It's pretty much what Theresa May said in order to draw support to her early in the game. And then we had a period of time when everything seemed to be going along swimmingly. And then suddenly in July last year, she revealed the awful truth that she'd been working behind everybody's backs. She had no intention whatsoever of delivering Brexit. We call that checkers, didn't we? When she came out with the white paper. That's right. And then everybody thought she'd kind of lost the plot somewhat, and maybe she'd, come back to reality, and she never did. And the difficulty we've got with Boris is that we kind of know that when push came to shove, he didn't vote for anything other than vassalage. The third vote, he voted for vassalage. So we know that he's perfectly capable of doing that if pressure is applied to him, as it was at that point. So the real question is, what did they have on Boris when he voted for that in March? When he voted for the last vote on the 29th of March, what did they have on him that made him vote with the government on that? Because that's the really big question, isn't it? That's because somebody's got a hold over him.
That's what they do. The whip's black book.
Yeah, and I think that's the big question. I kind of hope that someone in the media picks this up and says, look, in the mainstream media, and says, look, Boris, we need to get to the bottom of this. What did they have? What did they have on you? Because they've still got it on you, haven't they? Because we've not found, nothing's been exposed. Yeah. So we can't trust you until whatever that awful skeleton is that you've got in your cupboard, you need to open the cupboard and take it out yourself, and then let people decide if it's bad enough.
Yeah, completely. Naomi M is saying that Esther McVeigh did vote for Theresa May's EU treaty, what she called a withdrawal agreement or something.
I don't think she,
pardon?
I don't think she did, actually, Ollie. I was just looking myself, and I don't think she did. I've got a spreadsheet somewhere of all this stuff. I'll have a quick look in a minute.
Yeah, let's get that right. I appreciate that. I'm going to run through a few comments, see what folks have got to say. If you want to call in, please do. I know that old Chris Boozy is going to be giving us a shout pretty soon to talk about tactical voting and how, had people been more tactical in their voting, the Leave side could have got another 10 seats in that election last night. I'm going to ask him about that because that's quite fascinating. Something that he was discussing last week. We were doing a lot of analysis on, so a lot of constitutionalists were saying don't vote. I think they got proven wrong. Yeah, I think they got proven wrong. I think that vote, personally, I think showed. Just imagine if people hadn't voted and all the Remainers voted, and the difference there would have been. They would have been, clearly, people don't really want to leave, is what would have been said. I think it's pretty clear that the purist constitutionalists, as much as I admire their position, It was completely it was ridiculous, really. No pragmatism. But anyway, we did analyse a lot of this stuff last week, and we also analysed some stuff with old Boozy, bless him. And he's calling in, and in fact, he just has. And so talk to him in a sec and see what he's got to say about tactical voting and what have you. Maybe it'll come in handy for another time. Maybe in London, for example, I don't know, for a mayoral election or whatever. Sarah Boland says, "Who is this Simon?" That comment's just gone off my screen. Oh, I can't see it now. Oh, hold on a sec. Oh, it's the truth. Hold on. Trina Ellsworth, "Whoever becomes leader will be controlled anyway," she says. Amanda Momtazi, "Sajid swears his oath on the Quran." Sajid Javid. Alen Widowson says Esther did vote for deal on number 3. Robin can confirm that in a minute. Steve Foster, she voted for the last one. Amanda Thompson, phone in. The number's under the screen, which it is. The number is, in fact, I'll pin that comment that you got the number right, Amanda. Yes, you did. Thank you very much. I've pinned your comment. I appreciate that. That's the number, folks. Thomas White says, "It looks like the same bunch who wanted the job May got back in 2016. Yes, it does, pretty much. Paul Dale says, "Diane Abbott has a good chance." Chrissy Ford, I think she voted for because they changed their minds. All of them have. Bono is a member of Bilderberg, says Amanda Momtazi. Doesn't surprise me a bit. Charlotte Jameson, "Trump likes Bojo." Well, that's a good sign, I guess. Amanda Armin Armoud says, "Mr. Blobby Noel Edmonds, buddy, hopefully goes for PM job. He's got my vote." Thomas White, "I'm voting that Corbyn becomes the leader of the job centre in Coventry." And hey, Boozy, hello, mate. Can you hear me?
Hi, how you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I need to mess around with your video. Hold on a sec. I'll sort that in a sec. Yeah, at the moment you both look as though you've got your bits chopped off. Thomas White, more likely a big cash wage packet he got offered. There was an interesting story, actually. I don't know if either of you guys read this. It was an interesting story in Express that Amanda Rolson, thank you, Amanda, sent me earlier, saying how Ted Heath received he won an award, which was a kind of a European progression award or something, singing the praises of Europe. Yeah, not Europe, Europe. And apparently he got an award 10 years before he railroaded us into the EEC off the back of covering up the FCO 301048 and all the rest of it. He got a bung of 75,000 quid, which they reckon, Express, equates to the equivalent of 1.5 million in today's money. They were saying that today. That is the story. Whether or not it was a legitimate award, I don't know. But I mean, blimey, I'll tell you what.
Are we talking about the Charlemagne?
Yes, that's right.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, the Charlemagne Award. Go on.
Also, the interesting bit is the money that he spent, he got given, is paid for his boat that he is purportedly, seeing as he's never been prosecuted for it.
The Morning Glory.
The Morning Glory. Paid for his Morning Glory.
Dear. I'll tell you, it's just unbelievable. I'm just... there we go. Look at that. You're looking very good today. You're looking very good, Boozy. Bless you, mate. Quite youthful. Calling in from stateside, Reverend Dr. Chris Boozy. And hold on, let me just do that, and there we go. Okay, so just a few more comments because I want to hear people what their views are. Hopefully, a little bit more, less of.
Ollie, we can clarify this Esther thing.
Yeah, go on, Robin. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just quickly. Yeah, no. The caller, the commenter is absolutely correct. I'm afraid the horrible truth is that Esther McVeigh also voted for it on the third go.
Are there any in that list then, apart from Steve Baker?
No,
none of them.
None of them. So Steve is unique in that he voted against on every occasion that he was asked. So you've got all these Conservative politicians saying, "Oh, well, we need a Brexiteer now." Well, the only true Brexiteer is Steve Baker. Quite an interesting thing. I mean, the reason that Conservative MPs will go for Boris is not because they like Boris, it's because they don't want to lose their seats and they think that Boris can potentially win the next general election.
Yes.
Otherwise, their seats are at risk.
So they're hedging their bets on him because they think they're more likely to keep their seats, and we might be tempted to hedge our bets on him because he's got this Churchillian complex.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think we've just got to be very, very, very wary of that. I mean, my view on Steve Baker is that he said he will not make a decision until next weekend, or he'll not announce his decision until next weekend because the nominations don't have to be in until the 10th of June. I very much hope he does go for it, even if he only does it in order to be able to row in behind Boris, very at the late stages, in exchange for an absolutely copper-bottomed commitment from Boris on what exactly he will do with the leadership in terms of taking us out of the European Union. Deal or no deal. That's got to be the case.
Yes.
That's the risk. We run this horrible risk of Boris reneging, because he's reneged before. He's reneged on this when he voted for vassalage himself.
What do you take? I know that you personally have an association with Mr. Gove. I got to say, I don't trust him at all. Off the back again of him hanging around that cabinet and not speaking out. He said this weekend that the reason he hung about and he didn't quit the cabinet was because being inside the cabinet, he could attack May's deal. But did he?
No, not at all. I mean, I think what he's saying there, I believe everything that he says there. I think that's absolutely the case. And there was him, and there was Penny Mordaunt, and there was Andrea Leadsom, and Liam Fox, who've all stayed inside the cabinet and taken the damage that it's delivered to their personal reputations as a consequence of doing that, because they thought that was the lesser of the two evils. The greater evil for them, from their point of view, was flouncing out of the cabinet and leaving it entirely in the hands of the Remainers.
Yes.
Which case, I think they're right. If they had have done that, I think on vote 2 or 3, she would have got it through. She would have got the withdrawal agreement through. Because
there is a good argument for that. I do hear that. But, and also Andrea Leadsom, the way she did leave and the timing absolutely put the final boot in, and that wouldn't have been possible had she quit straight after Chequers, say. No,
that's right. So I know it galls people, and everybody sort of attacks all of those people, that Penny Mordaunt and Andrea Leadsom and Liam Fox and Michael Gove, and they attack them all for that. And it is a perverse situation.
It is.
I think having made that, they made that decision after Chequers. There is an argument that says, look, if they'd have all just...
Boozy, you're thumping your keyboard, which is fine, but just mute yourself when you're not speaking, sir, please.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah,
thank you. Go on.
I think there's an argument that says that if back in Chequers they'd have had the decency to take the long walk down the drive, potentially they could have got rid of the Prime Minister there and then. However, to be honest, I would say I probably defer to their better judgment in that case, because I think in reality it's very difficult for anybody like us who wasn't there. We're only sort of commentators. We don't know what the situation really was there, and I'm sure they considered it. I'm sure they looked at it very, very closely and thought, okay, what if? They looked at all the what if scenarios and decided that they would stick there. And I think Michael Gove was in a particularly difficult situation because he was the most labelled Brexiteer, having been with Boris one of the top 2 people.
Yes,
and he had to demonstrate to Theresa May by appearing to make a real effort to sell her deal, he had to try and demonstrate to Theresa May that that he was loyal in order to be able to keep his position. And so, they've. Let's be realistic. Let's look at those people and say, they have taken an awful lot of flack, but they did it for good reasons. Now, does that mean that we should vote for Michael Gove as to be the next Prime Minister? I'm afraid I don't. I think Michael. I think he's a brilliant minister. I think I know this very personally from watching him work close up, and I know that there is nobody who can get a grasp on a brief faster than him. His ability to be able to take on information and turn it into intelligent thought
is clearly
surpassed any human being I've ever met in my life.
Really.
However, is he somebody that the people of this country are going to have confidence in as an individual? I just don't think he's got that prime ministerial look about him. He would need to sort of go through a period of image change really before he would have that kind of appeal. And why are MPs going to vote for him if they don't think he can help them retain their seats?
Yes.
I don't think he can.
Yes. What are your thoughts between the two ladies in the pack? Well, actually, I think there are three, aren't there? There's Esther McVeigh and Andrea Leadsom, and Penny Mordaunt. Is she running?
No, she's not. Well, she's not said she is or isn't yet. The other lady actually. I think actually we've done somebody a disservice thinking about it, because of course there is one lady in the potential pack who has voted against on every occasion, who's Priti Patel. So she's the other. Yeah,
that's right.
The other,
yeah, she has.
So Priti voted against. So apologies for that, everybody. But I completely forgot Priti. But
she is running, is she? I didn't know.
No, she's not. I'm not sure if she's come out yet and said that. She's indicated that she may. Let's just have a look, see if we've got any news from Priti.
Okay, now while you do that, Chris Boozy, Reverend Dr. Chris Boozy, it's lovely to have you back on the show. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah. You sent me something very interesting earlier. Let me see. No, I can't put it up because it's actually on Skype, and if I do that, then I'm going to lose you. So
I have copied the spreadsheet, and I can send that to you as an image if that'll help.
Yeah, good. Well, explain what it. Well, first of all, before we get into this tactical voting thing, and we discuss that a little bit. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but 5 minutes or so. But before that, what are your thoughts about where we are today and where we're going? Are we going to see a no-deal Brexit on Halloween? Sorry. A WTO deal. Brexit. Yes. I apologise. That is being conditioned by the media. Sorry, go on, Chris, please. Your take.
Okay, right. As things stand, obviously we've got Robin Tilbrook's case that will help. And if
suing the government, citing that the government extended Article 50 illegally. And I've heard reports today that he's been receiving death threats. And in fact, I left him a message earlier to try and find out a bit about that. You say he has, Chris?
Yes, he has. Now, what I would say is if we get the court case finalised before Halloween, then we've got to say, that goes through perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. I don't think we are going to leave on, we necessarily will leave, because I looked at some dates and I had an awful realisation. The date of the Peterborough by-election, which Brexit Party could well win even as a protest vote.
Remind me the date of that, if you happen to know.
That is on June the 6th, the day before Theresa May is supposed to resign.
Right. Right.
So I can see one, Brexit Party wins. They're waiting to see what happens. Brexit Party wins. Theresa May announces she resigns to take the wind out the sails and cover up, in effect, the news that Brexit Party's won their first seat.
No.
And then Labour will then call for a vote of no confidence because the Prime Minister's quit and there's no... and obviously, if the Prime Minister's quit and the government is unstable, how can it govern? Okay, now we're having a general election. The Brexit Party MP never gets elected and therefore, on the record books, never was an MP because, oh yes, we have this person never managed to take their oath of office and take their seat. And then we will potentially see another situation of 2015 of mass electoral fraud preventing the election of the Brexit Party.
Mr. Horsley, Mr. H, you're shaking your head.
No, I don't agree. I think you're right about the possibility of a vote of no confidence. I think that's a very likely outcome once the Prime Minister's gone on the 7th, or when she's resigned. But I think she's going to stay on as interim. I think that's what I was saying to Olly earlier. Actually, I don't know if you were listening earlier, but with a majority of 2, we're very, very, very vulnerable at the moment. But I don't think part of that is to do with the Brexit Party never taking their seat. I mean, bear in mind that if there's a vote of no confidence, there'll then be a period when there is an opportunity to form another government rather than have another general election. So
yes, but the ability for the government to form a government with a majority of 2, with the DUP already annoyed with them, and then with a situation where the parliamentary arithmetic isn't there really, other than for all the Remainer parties plus Labour to come together and form a government themselves, and then we're screwed everyone. We're screwed then otherwise.
Exactly. So but there is that period of time, which will. Well, I don't think there's any great significance to the Peterborough guy taking his seat or not taking his seat. That's what I'm saying. I don't particularly agree with. But I think on the rest of it, I mean, Corbyn could quite easily do that. He could quite easily say, look, the government has collapsed because the Prime Minister's actually resigned. So now let's move a position that we have no confidence in the government because arguably there is no government now. This
is the thing, but I do think that there has to. It's very interesting that the Prime Minister has announced that the day she's going to stand down is the day after the Peterborough by-election. That can't just be for chance.
No, I think it's to do with the Trump visit. I think it's there are engagements that you need somebody who is the Prime Minister around for. I don't think the Peterborough by-election is a big deal. I think as far as the media are concerned, I don't think the 7th and the Prime Minister confirming a resignation, which he had all the media for 2 weeks prior to that, I don't think that'll sort of knock everything else out of the media. I think that's just a.
It does. It does cock up Tory campaigning in Peterborough, though, doesn't it? I mean, it looks really, really bad from the point of view of their campaigning. Let me just take a few comments, see what people have to say about some of these characters. Welsh 73 and 77 says Boris went against Trump on sanctions on Iran. We're all Gnosis 333 says it goes a lot deeper than Boris and May spying on Trump. Lauren Kane is saying Boris also needs to answer some questions about UK spying on the Trump campaign. We're talking about Visagate, Visagate, and Trump has ordered those documents to be released, and that story is developing. And it's not. We're not having to wait for a second term for that to develop. And it does apparently implicate at least the last UK government and the last US administration So that's all going to be quite fascinating.
Yeah,
but maybe there is
Boris
word that Boris is
the
implicated
FCO.
in that. He was foreign secretary at the time, I think. Sorry, go on, Chris.
Yeah, because the intelligence was done along using signals intelligence. The agency that would have been doing it in the United Kingdom on behalf of the UK government was GCHQ. GCHQ, along with MI6, are subsidiary departments of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, meaning that it was at the time Boris Johnson's train set, which means he is ultimately responsible.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
My word. Wolfcat, ich bin Deutsch, aber ich liebe England mehr als Deutschland, denn nur in England darf ich Deutsch sein. Thank you, Wolfcat. Rosetta One's written, she was on the show once, God bless you, Wolfcat. I don't know what I was just saying, except I know I am German. Yeah, fine. Rosetta,
I'm German, but I prefer England. Was basically what I could gather from what you'd actually said.
Yeah, no, oh, thank you, sir. Yeah, no, that's what she said when she came on the show as well. Rosetta 138, I'm sure Esther voted for May's deal on the last vote. Yeah, we've got that now. Wolfcat, okay, translation, bless her. I am German, but I love England more than I love Germany, as only in England can be German. Seriously, Germans get into trouble if they send their children to school too clean. John Pierce said, they said Germans had no sense of humour. Lots of laughs. Somebody whose name I cannot pronounce, Vil, says Boris probably voted for the deal so that if and when he became leader, he had the support of MPs and could demonstrate his loyalty to party, doing so knowing it would fail. Now, that I like that theory. I don't like to have to rely on a theory like that, but nonetheless, it does give a little bit of hope to the old heart. William Davies did lead some vote on the third vote. Are you sure? Well, yeah. I mean, she was the whatnot of the Commons. I mean, she presumably voted for all of them.
She did. Yeah, of course she did.
Yeah. John Pierce. To be honest, I don't trust none of them. Sandy123. Gove is a snake, and Peter isn't here. Gove has been a yes man, career politician for me. John Pierce Gove is an actor. William Davies Gove is a Zyno. Stav Woodcutter, good evening, Stav. I do read out your comments. Steve Baker, in fairness, laid out the con called fiat currency in a debate in the Commons called money creation in society, even quoting Henry Ford's. Yes, Stav, he did. Well, yes, that's right. And I watched a bit of that debate, and it was attended by about 6 MPs. I mean, it was disgraceful. There was no attendance. He goes on to say to Stav, if people knew how fiat currency, how this money, paper money was really created, there would be a revolution by the morning. Helen Smith says Gove is a snivelling creep and a yes man who could take Gove seriously. Keith M1, do the Lib Dems want another vote after last night? What do you guys think? I mean, the thing that scares me about there being another vote, another referendum, is that it would be rigged.
Well, they attempted it last time. I remember being out in America watching the live footage and seeing a teller in Birmingham rubbing out leave and put in an X in Remain actually in the count. I saw that on BBC footage. Now, and they immediately, you saw that they realised they'd filmed something they didn't want to film because immediately it panned off. But yeah, we saw that, so we know for a fact that Leave won by a greater majority because votes were changed, but they couldn't change enough votes. They had to make it look like it was close, and they underestimated the strength of feeling.
Robin, what are your thoughts about
what?
Well, I mean, can we seriously trust a second vote? Given that the entire British establishment, for example, has even used the media to take sides.
We can't have a second vote because to do so would be to discard democracy.
Yes.
If you're going to discard democracy, don't vote over it. What's the point? The whole point is that you don't want people to vote. You don't want democracy. Why would you try and legitimize no democracy with a vote?
Yeah.
I mean, that's an absurd thing to do.
Yes.
If you don't want democracy, then just ride roughshod over people, and we'll have a proper revolution.
Well, they have been riding
not-
roughshod. I mean, May's deal is riding roughshod. I mean, we would be better off staying in than having her deal.
Exactly.
Does last night change things in terms of does last night change things in terms of this Remain clamour for a second vote? A second referendum.
Well, I think I've just sent you. I don't know if you look on your Facebook Messenger, Ollie, you'll see I've just sent you a little graphic. I don't know if you want to put that up because I think that tells the story. That's from the Wikipedia page. Have you got it in front of you, Ollie?
I'm pulling it up, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I mean they are. There's some of them that are just so adamant about that. But I mean, it's sickening to hear, isn't it? Especially when it's the likes of Alistair Campbell, who, quite frankly, should be sharing a jail cell with Tony Blair, in my opinion, for what he did with Iraq.
Absolutely.
Okay, let me see if
it's complete nonsense. The whole thing is complete nonsense. I think if really today there should be people in the centre ground saying, look, this is a shaving mirror moment. We've got to look in the shaving mirror as a Remain supporter who may have still been clamouring for another referendum. You have to be looking in the mirror and saying, are you part of the problem or part of the solution? Well, clearly you're part of the problem if you're not going to accept the result now. We've had so many votes. They were asking for a confirmatory vote. Well, we've had it. We had it yesterday. Thursday. We got the result yesterday. It's very, very clear, isn't it, what's happened? We've had the confirmatory vote. And the graphic I've just sent over to you is...
yeah, I've just pulled it up now.
You just put it up, eh?
Yeah, no, we got it there. So vote share by Brexit position. Thank you for this. Let me see if I can just improve, get it all on the screen there. My machine is a wee bit slow when I try and do things like this live. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can do it a different way, so that people can see that.
Can't quite see the whole lot.
Should do it right. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, please take us through it, Robin.
Well, effectively, so what is it? What it's saying, as it says there, is it is segmenting the vote by the Brexit position taken by the various parties. So the Brexit Party went into that European election advocating that we exit under WTO terms, so a clean Brexit. UKIP the same, TUV, whoever TUV are the same as well. The other parties who are saying that they were still advocating an exit, but with the withdrawal agreement. Now we can argue over whether or not that's better or worse than remaining.
Well,
but we're Labour
that includes
Conservatives.
the DUP, who presumably want a sensible withdrawal agreement because they haven't been backing May's. So there are withdrawal agreements and withdrawal agreements, aren't there? But carry on.
Well, the term withdrawal agreement comes from Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty. So a deal of some type or another is what each of those parties are saying, right?
Okay.
Now, obviously, we can argue that the Labour Party are very weak on that, but look at the vote share position. I think that's a kind of sensible comparative position. I can't see the whole thing on my screen because I'm lagging slightly behind real time, Ollie. But can everybody see?
Oh no, you're right. Sorry, you're right. I haven't got it all up there. Oh, hold on. I'm cocking up here again. Bit of daily chaos there. Just to keep my hand in. Right.
You need to be able to see the bottom of it, otherwise it's a bit meaningless.
There we go. Okay. Yes. Right. It's all there now. I'll tell you what. I can make it a bit bigger. Come on. Let's see this properly.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So what you're looking at really is one type of Brexit or another. Vote share, combined vote share is 57% of the vote, 58% of the vote almost, 41% Remain. So do you know what I mean? There is really no argument that the result last night gave anybody any kind of Remain-based mandate whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's very clear, isn't it? I mean, basically what we're saying is that people's convictions haven't changed, but there's an added dimension now that there are a percentage of people who believe that democracy needs to be served.
Yes.
Who should remain, but still believe that democracy should be served, and accept, therefore, that their preference is not what they're going to get. Now, that's pretty logical and obvious, isn't it? You wouldn't really expect in a democracy that's existed in for hundreds of years for anything other than that to occur. And I think all this noise from the Remain side saying that somehow, oh no, this now means we've got to have another vote. I mean, it's just ridiculous, utterly ridiculous.
Yes.
Well, that ties in with the tactical voting as well, because they're able to do that because Remain tactically voted.
Yeah.
The Brexiteers didn't. Now, had we tactically voted, one, the Lib Dems would not have got as many seats as they did. And the figures I have show, by going through the percentages that we had and by the split of the vote, the first check that I did was I took the votes for UKIP and Tommy Robinson. Just those ones. I didn't include the English Democrats because I couldn't. While I was trying to get the data, it was just needed to be done pretty quickly. I can show from my thing, and I will send Ollie the images of the spreadsheets.
Thank you.
If UKIP and the voters for UKIP and Tommy Robinson had voted for the Brexit Party, the change would have been that the North West, the West Midlands, the East and the South East would have gained one additional Brexit Party vote, one additional Brexit Party candidate.
Yeah.
So the way that stands is there would have been an additional 4 MEPs that were Brexiteers than there were on the night.
Yeah.
Now, this is a bit less accurate, and I'm going to caveat that. I've used the percentile votes for each of the parties as to what their breakdown is in relation to are they Remain or Leave. So, based on the referendum vote. So, for example, the SNP, 71% of the SNP voters are Remainers. The rest are Leavers. There is a breakdown. And obviously, you've got to look at the Conservatives. The vast majority of Conservative voters are Leavers versus Remainers. So what I've done is I've taken the votes of what the parties got, and I've split them down on Leave Remain lines on what is remaining, because you're going to have, in reality, you are going to have a little bit of tribal loyalty, no matter if there is tactical voting. Now,
yes.
Looking at that, this shows change in the North East, North West, East Midlands, West Midlands, Eastern Region, South West, South East, London, Scotland and Wales. And what this actually shows is that there is a maximum potential gain if there had been tactical voting and all Leavers had voted for the Brexit Party, that they could have gained an additional 12 seats, including additional 2 in the South East, and they would have been the largest party in Scotland with 3 seats to the SNP's 2, and Liberals would have been the only ones to have gained a seat outside of the SNP and the Brexit Party. So there would have been a 50-50 split of MEPs in Scotland. So based on that, we are talking that the minimum amount of seats that could have been gained by tactical voting was 4, up to a maximum of 12. Now, that would have meant on the best case scenario that there would have been 41 Brexit Party MEPs out of 73, with 1 DUP which would have gone in with them. That would have meant that there would have been none of this argument as, it's only Brexit Party and UKIP that were the votes for Leave, so nobody else actually wants to leave, and all the Ramona arguments, we would have been able to absolutely kill them in that argument, because we would have had 41 MEPs out of a total 73 for a WTO Brexit, with the Liberals only getting 13 seats, Labour getting 6 seats, Greens getting 7 seats, SNP getting 2, Plaid getting 1, DUP getting 1, Sinn Féin getting 1, and Alliance getting 1.
You say it would have been 50-50.
I don't think it means very much, mate. I mean, because you're just denying the imbalance of the exodus. So, it's
but the ones with the UKIP and the Tommy Robinson, what is a valid point to make?
No, you're right. No, you're right.
And that one would have been 30.
Your point. No,
and that one would have been 33 Brexit Party, 15 for the Liberals, 10 for Labour, 1 Conservative, which would have been, the 1 Conservative would have been Daniel Hannan, 7 Green Party, 3 SNP, 1 Plaid Cymru, and all of those were unchanged.
Chris, you're saying in Scotland it would have been 50-50.
In Scotland, had there been tactical voting, that we could have actually got the maximum by taking the SNP vote and the amount of SNP voters who are actually leavers, by splitting the Conservative vote, the Labour vote, by doing all of that. Now, it is less accurate.
It is interesting.
I accept that.
It is interesting.
But the thing is, we are still talking a minimum of 4 seats were denied because people voted for the minor, as we now have to say, the minor Brexiteers, and in effect wasted their vote where we could have got an additional 4 seats, and that would have still been 33 out of 73. So,
I just think this is crazy. All this stuff, you're way out on terms of Scotland. Scotland's very much Remain.
Yes, but the official statistics that were done at the time of the referendum showed that in the SNP, while the vote for the SNP is a vote to leave the United Kingdom and be an independent country, only 71% of those members of the SNP want to be within the EU. The others want to be out of the EU as well.
Sure,
but they are denied.
But you can't extrapolate from that all the things you've tried to.
No, but this is what I know. What I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. I'm not saying this is accurate. That one is an accurate thing, but I'm talking. We have to look at a range here.
Yeah, no, Chris.
Because we can't.
The bottom line. The bottom line is that when people vote in this kind of, who was it? Somebody, one of these news stories that I quoted. Somebody or other said, we're on a military footing here, and you have to be careful how you vote and all the rest of it. Tactical voting.
That was what me and Robin were saying. We're at war.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And we need to forget about tribal loyalties to parties and think about our loyalty to country.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I totally agree with that. Look, okay, thank you for that. I just want to read something which is relevant to that.
I've got to go. I'm sorry.
Robin,
Olly, I've got to go, I'm afraid.
No, not at all, mate. Look, thank you so much for your input today. I really, really appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this, and you've been absolutely awesome. Thank you. This show I'm running for another half hour to try and get as many comments from folks as possible. A few more comments out there, because obviously it was a pretty enormous night last night. But Robin Horsley, thank you, sir. God bless you. Have a good evening. Have a decent glass of wine, mate. Mr. H. I want to read something which is relevant to to what Chris was just saying, actually, from a different political geek, John Curtis, who was saying EU nightmare, according to Express. Polling guru John Curtis reveals why Farage's triumph terrifies Brussels. And I think it's quite interesting, some of the points he brought up. Polling experts John Curtis has revealed why last night's election results in Britain, a vote forced on the UK by the EU, or by our own government, actually, who work for the EU apparently, will turn into a nightmare for Brussels' elite. Last night's election results will turn into an unprecedented nightmare for the European Union's elite. According to polling guru Sir John Curtis, the clear triumph of Nigel Farage's Brexit Party, which topped the polls with 32%, could spell huge danger for Brussels. The Brexit Party was the clear winner. Chris, could you just mute your mic when you're thumping
Yeah,
your
of course.
keyboard?
Sorry, yeah.
Good man. The Brexit Party was the clear winner in the European elections, with the pro-EU Lib Dems coming second. At the same time, the Conservatives and Labour suffered heavy losses, with the former expected to get less than 10% of the vote. Apparently it's 8 point something. So John told the BBC that the EU's decision to force the UK to hold the controversial elections after granting the country a Brexit extension had horribly backfired. He explained the electorate has moved in favour of those who will contemplate no deal, such as Farage's Brexit Party, or those who are clearly on the side of Remain, like the Lib Dems and the Greens. These are the two views that voters wanted to express. Much more over May and Labour's compromise and fudge positions. The implication for the EU, Curtis continues, is that if you think that Britain would get any closer to resolving its Brexit impasse because of holding the EU elections you insisted we hold, the answer to that is no. Instead, the vote has made the impasse more difficult to resolve, not easier. It was the worst performance for the Conservatives since the 1930s. Express continues. According to BBC's Laura Koonsberg, the Conservatives would have failed to take a single seat if the vote was first past the post. Brexit Party leader Nigel Farage insisted he was ready to take on the Tories and Labour in a general election. An increasing number of Conservative colleagues are interpreting the result as a mandate to leave without a deal. Tory leadership hopeful Boris Johnson claimed the public had delivered a crushing rebuke to both major parties for failing to deliver Brexit. Anti-Brexit parties, including the Liberal Democrats, the Greens, the SNP and Change UK, collectively took about 40% of the vote, compared with 35% for the two parties, Brexit Party and UKIP, in favour of leaving the EU without a deal. Well, as we just saw from Robin's graphic, that's a very misleading paragraph, that last one. That's a very misleading paragraph. But what do you think of that, Boozy? What do you think of... I mean, it's pretty damn obvious, isn't it? It was a serious backfire. Oh, he's just gone. He just seems to have gone. No, you know what happened? He took himself off mute and he pressed cut the call instead. Right. Okay. Let's Stan Cape Swallow is asking, what about a court case that's going through now to say it was against the law to extend Article 50? And he's referring, of course, to Robin Tilbrook, his court case, which this show's been covering and will continue to cover with some interest. Yes, who knows? Maybe Viscount Davies will pop on very shortly. He's guarantoring that case. Maybe we will... hold on a sec. Now, Booze is calling me, but I think he's also calling Robin. So that's going to... now, I imagine Robin wants to have a quiet night now. So hold on a sec. I'll call you direct. We'll need to get a bit of... Right. Oh, Rev is unavailable. That's what he's trying me. Look, Chris, give me a shout direct. Don't join that group call. Call me direct on there. Yes, Stan. The deal with Mr. Tilbrook's court case is that they are waiting for a date. They're waiting for a date for the case to be heard. They've got their barrister sorted out. They've raised a load of cash. They are waiting for the government to... Sorry, not the government. They're waiting for the courts to now say when this is going to be heard. That is the latest, as I understand it. Robin was on the show last week to give us that update. But I also understand from one or two folks that I've spoken to today, not least of all Chris Boozy, who's been joining us this evening on the show, that Mr. Tilbrook's been receiving death threats. He's also been receiving some very unwarranted trolling on Facebook from people that I used to be associated with, actually, or that I at least knew and that I've subsequently blocked because they are basically being extremely unfair towards him and not listening nor wanting to hear the answers to questions that they themselves have put but refuse to come on this show and actually ask. And so I've asked on for them because they're actually legitimate questions, and he's covered them pretty comprehensively, it seems to me. Chris, is that Amanda? Is that Amanda Momtazi?
Hello?
Amanda?
No, it's Wolfcat.
Wolfcat. Good evening, Wolfcat. How are you? What would you like to say? Wolfcat is the German lady that's spoken.
I'm fine.
I hope that answers your query, sir, about Tilbrook. Any developments, as soon as there's anything, I will let you know. Please go on, Wolfcat. What's going on? What do you think? Why on earth wasn't Merkel given even more of a thrashing than she was to some extent in your home country, the Germany?
Right, I can tell you, because the Germans, they live in a perpetual feeling of guilt.
Yes.
And they are easily misled for the wrong reasons by the wrong.
Yes.
It's all been twisted that nowadays the original Nazis are referred to as right-wing, right?
Yeah.
Well, they call themselves socialists for a reason, okay? Hitler's idea
National
was
Socialists.
all for one and one for
Go
all,
on,
and that is socialist. That is not right-wing nationalist at all.
Well, they I don't know whether they particularly subscribe to right or left. As soon as
I don't think they did.
They did it. They did it first with the New Deal, but go on.
When he came to power, Germany just dropped out of. They basically sent their monarchy into exile into Holland.
Mm-hmm.
So they had no Kaiser, no emperor anymore. Nobody leading them. What were they supposed to do? They were there like children dealing with, I would say, playing with an atomic bomb. It's called democracy. And they didn't do very well at all. Democracy, very early after the Kaiser was abdicated, he didn't abdicate himself, he was abdicated, that didn't work out. And that gave room, otherwise Hitler would never have happened.
Yes.
Whereas Britain, in comparison...
Well, it was that, and it was also the armistice was pretty provocative, wasn't it, as well? The armistice,
well, having that cast aside, what I see now over there is the Germans want to do everything, and they are bending over in all sorts of directions not to upset anyone that enters their country, and nobody who would not expect them what they expect them to do on a globalization basis. Whereas a lot of the Germans, they go, I don't really want that.
I
don't want to be globalized. I don't want some EU ruling over me.
So why are they putting up with it?
But if I say anything different, if I speak it out loud, then I'm a right-wing extremist. And what I've written before in the comments is absolutely true.
Yes.
If you ever go and research the Antonio Amadeo Stiftung in Berlin, you will come across a lady called Annette Kahane. She is running that place. Annette Kahane was a spy for the former East German government.
Now, hold on a second.
She is now the one spying on everybody else.
Wolfgang,
and she brought out a leaflet that was handed out to schools to educate teachers into what to look out for in children, where it could mean that their parents are right-wing extremists.
Hold on a sec. Is this lady still alive? Is this verifiable, this story?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Is this verifiable, this story? Because I don't want to be libeling anybody.
Absolutely, totally. Absolutely and totally.
All right, this is the opinion of my caller anyway. But the point is what you're saying, Wolfcat, is that the German people have been so conditioned off the back of, like we saw it with the Hitler Youth, and I know this is an outrageous comparison in a way, but I look at these kind of these these kind of libtards, if you like. Particularly the young folks that have come out of uni and they want to vote. I want to vote for this wonderful blue flag with all these lovely, yellow stars on it and go all that. We're crying out loud. Why does you should be in a club getting drunk? Why on earth do you want to get immersed in politics when you're barely out of a nappy? And by the way, you're ignorant, frankly. You're ignorant. And because you've been taught nothing but common purpose, etc., etc. And it does... Hold on, Wolfcat, don't interrupt me when I'm having a rant. Don't interrupt me when I'm having a rant, please, darling. Is it not the case? Is it not the case that folks do get conditioned? We're seeing it today. And it's actually, you could argue, it's what happened to the... Far worse, Goebbels was much better at it than even like the new Labour lot. But basically, this kind of conditioning, we're seeing a repeat to an extent of what we saw with the Hitler Youth.
The dangerous thing what they are doing, though, is that they've conditioned the German people, the generation after me, to not have an opinion at all. And they swim with every sort of direction because they don't want to upset anyone. And that is dangerous.
It's pathetic, isn't it? It's really pathetic.
What does that breed?
Well, I'll tell you
what. Think about the generation before myself. I was born in 1964.
It's going to breed resentment, ultimately.
The generation a little bit older than me, that was sort of my oldest brother. He was about 18 years older than myself, right? He grew up knowing that, in a way, his parents were the offenders of World War II, right? Okay, so, and then they saw that all the people, the kingpins of the former regime of Nazi Germany, came into key positions as well, inclusive Adenauer and all of them, right? And they thought, now they're ruling us again, and that was the 68ers. What did that breed? That bred the Royal Army faction, terrorists, left-wing terrorists, that's what it bred.
Aye. Victor Edward V's trolling me again. What an idiot. Right, Amanda Montaz says exactly. They are using the same techniques. Dave Jenkins, Merkel is Hitler's daughter. I don't know if that's a bit far-fetched.
No,
there is a picture of Merkel and May together when they were teenagers or something. Do you know anything about the background of that picture?
No, absolutely not. The only thing I know that they have in common, they are both blonde. And both of their fathers were Protestant priests, and that's all. And they have their surnames start with the same letter. But they do not have anything whatsoever.
Germany is unable to break itself from this kind of...
They would have to be extremely rigid and steadfast, and they would have to be able to, this is our opinion, and this is how we want things to be run, end of. And that would upset a lot of people in all sorts of different countries in the world. And if you have a look at the geographically strategic position of Germany, it's surrounded now by 9 different foreign countries. Hello, little one. I've got a new kitten.
Have you? Good on you. I've got 4 little kittens in my garden.
Yeah.
Feral kittens who pop in. And
I sent you a photo of the newest one that I've got,
nice.
through Facebook. And you may want to, somebody wants to have a little smile or something, put it up, because I've just decided to call him Brexit.
Have you? I'll tell you, these ones I've got, they're plant jihadists. I'll tell you, they absolutely ruin the place, but they're very, very cute. And it's, But okay, so this is a real problem for Germany, and I really sympathise with Germany because of that.
It's been a problem for decades. It's been a problem for decades. I mean, I was
not improving.
Even at school, I was taught that I've inherited this guilt. How does that make you feel when you're 12 years old?
Why are you as expressive as you are?
You're being taken onto obligatory school visits to concentration camps. I myself have had to visit Bergen-Belsen, and then on a different one that went further up south, I had to visit Dachau. And there, as a 14, 15-year-old, you're being told, you've done this.
Really?
It's your fault as well. You inherited this.
No.
That's what they tell you.
They don't do that.
Right?
Don't do
so
that.
How would that make you feel? So we had this between my parents and me and my brothers who were around the same, born around the same time than I was. there was this unspoken rule, and that wasn't just me, that was all sorts of my friends as well. We don't ask, and our parents went, and we certainly are not going to tell you.
It's incredible. They don't really do that. They don't blame it on the kids.
They did. I kid you not, I'm not joking. They did. Yeah, that was just like in the Bible. You inherited the sin.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of old cock.
I'm not joking. I'm not kidding you. Honestly not.
No, I know you're not. That's absolutely disgusting. That really is incredible. So why are you as open-minded and free-minded as you clearly are?
Very easy, because I had a lot of conversations with my father, who fought in the Wehrmacht as a young man in Russia. Yeah. And he's been severely injured. He lost an eye, and he had several bullet wounds through him. He survived. When I was born, he was already 43 years old. And we had a lot of conversations as I was growing up that I couldn't have with my mother, because my mother went, you know, they just blame us for everything, and she went just totally off it.
Why?
But my dad and I, we had a lot of really great conversations about it, and he told me, never ever howl with the wolves. If you know they are howling the wrong tone, you speak up, because that is the only way anything like this can never ever happen again. And now the German government is doing exactly what they've done in 1930, whatever, all this started off, right? They gag the people. Have a look at Heiko Maas' Netzwerkdurchsetzungsgesetz, hate speech law.
Yes.
Right? Have a look at that. You can't even in Germany now say, oh no, I'm against this, that and the other. You could get yourself into serious legal problems.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you can't have a conversation, if you can't have a discussion, an open debate about anything, that is the breeding ground for extremism.
Yes, it is. And so how much of that is happening now, in your opinion, with people?
Loads.
Because basically it's like a pressure pot, isn't it? It builds up, and then it's going to explode. What is happening? Well, at what point are we with that pressure cooker now, if you like?
They are basically brainwashing people again into telling them that everything that comes to the country is great. Multiculturalism is the best thing ever. It will work because you are forced to make it work. And when you just go and counteract and say, yeah, but look, the crime rates have gone up, right? We now have got clan, mafia-like thingies through this migration since 2015. You're not allowed to say it. You're not allowed, and I live over here since 2000. Technically, I lived in Britain since 1987 when I got married. Yeah. And that has never ever been the case. But the German people are being gagged more and more and more, and it's being tweaked, and it turns family member against family member, friend against friend, and that's exactly what we had. And this is Angela Merkel's regime that she took over from former East Germany.
Yeah.
If you're not allowed to say it, it didn't happen.
So, do you think that the vote, if you like, the progression of the Greens this election, do you think that that's the Germans?
The only alternative they had. The only alternative they had to not to have to vote,
AfD.
the Christian Democratic Union, which is Angela Merkel's party. The Christian Democratic Union was right.
Do you think that
it was conservative?
Do you think?
There was actually this guy called Johann Strauss.
Wolfgang, darling, let me ask the question, because I want an answer to this question. Do you think that the German people would have voted, instead of voting AfD, in many cases, due to
they didn't vote AfD.
Let me finish. Due to peer pressure, do you think that therefore they thought, well, we'll just put in a protest vote, and they voted Green? Or do you think that they genuinely wanted to vote Green, that they really genuinely dislike AfD?
No, they do not. the majority of the people that I still converse with and communicate with in Germany, they go, I really would like, but then if it's in a small community and X amount of people are being found out, there's loads and loads of people voted the AfD, right? Then it's just simple math to sort of work out who did and who didn't, and they grass each other up as well. People have lost their jobs over saying, I think I'm going to vote the AfD.
Really?
They've lost their jobs because of this. And it destroyed careers, it destroyed people. I'm not joking.
Gee. That's the kind of thing that they were trying to bring in under Obama, wasn't it? Stateside, saying snitch on your neighbour.
The only alternative they had was to vote for the Green, to let the government basically know we are not happy with you.
Yeah.
Because if they would have voted the SPD, which is the German equivalent of Labour,
right,
it's the same thing than the CDU. I mean, they're already in a coalition.
Yeah, that's right.
You see.
What do the Germans think of the French pivoting away from centrist politics and towards National Rally and Le Pen?
They admire them. They've actually invited, if you want to come and protest over in Germany, come over. And a lot of there are people already sort of going onto in German cities as with yellow vests and things. It is a very, very small amount, but they are, because they are getting so absolutely yacked off. You have no idea. They said, yes, on the one hand, you are telling us we are not enough to look even after our own people, but are these people that you let immigrate capable of doing so? I think not. Plus in generations to come, migrants get older also.
Okay, I'm going to take a few comments. So hang about, Wolfcat, because this is fascinating talking to you. Thank you. Amanda Momtazi says, what she is saying was all deliberately done to her to make the German people feel like this so that they would accept what is happening now. Spot on, I think. Yes, they do, Amanda says. Bring up the kids with the guilt of their ancestors so it never happens again. Yes, they do. You know what? The sins of the father, I find that absolutely contemptible. It is disgusting. Ajahn Tyler, who was on the show last week, putting the case for not voting yesterday. I'm pleased that people didn't listen to him, frankly. But hey, Aj, good to see you, mate. They started off as slave labor camps, and the royal family were invested in them. Leah Lewis says, that is disgraceful. How on earth can that happen? Just awful to carry that guilt. Sarah Boland says, I love dogs as well. Brought up with them as a child, but I work more or less full time, so it wouldn't be fair to have one. Cats are much more independent. Amanda Rolfson says, Leah Lewis, I said the same to the people telling me the same thing years ago. Jamie Mitchell simply says, 2 families, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and Bushes. Well, 3. Amanda Thompson, it's done all the world over, isn't it? We're all told we're responsible for the past your country did. And they are trying to do it right now, aren't they? It's all this kind of, white shame, all that. Black Lives Matter and all that.
Nobody in Germany would deny the Holocaust. Nobody who's got a brain cell would ever deny the Holocaust. That is just not going to happen. But it's been used as a gagging tool.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely.
And you can't do that. This will backfire at some point so badly,
You would think so.
To be honest, what I said before, I wrote this in a comment, which you, by the way, in German read out pristine. Honestly.
Did I? Really?
I've got a German passport. I think you should have one.
God bless you. God bless you. No,
it was really good. Yeah, the first time I was allowed, and I could feel German, was when I moved to Britain. And I moved to England, and neighbors told me, they started speaking to me, obviously. They found out, your accent is a bit, where are you from, as you ask. So I told them, and they said, you should be so proud of your country. And I said, what? Are you joking? And I had this guilt written all over my forehead again, It is bizarre that I'm so sorry, but I'm German. I'm from Germany.
Yeah, that's right.
That is how you feel saying it, you know.
Yeah, I know, it's terrible. There was a sketch. There was an old Harry Enfield sketch. I feel I must apologise for my country's part in the war. And I mean,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
to the
It's
Brits.
actually the favourite show of 40 Towers is the one. Don't mention the war.
That's right. Don't mention the war. Yeah, I mean, we love all that stuff. But also,
You
hopefully,
and
like to
Paul,
take them
we didn't.
out of ourselves, too. Hey, go on, Amanda?
That's the favourite show of 40 Towers in Germany. It's the one. Don't mention the war. It's
Is it?
hilarious.
Oh, you know, yeah. Sheriana says that's cruel. History is supposed to tell you what happened, so you do not make the same mistakes. Never forgotten, but never used to browbeat a nation. Absolutely. Jamie Mitchell, the Nazis weren't German, a different breed they were. Yeah, I mean, I feel this. You know, I have Jewish
There were
blood.
different reasons. I wouldn't have. I mean, I grew up around. When I was a little girl, there was still some of the people who really believed in this. They were around me. They were fathers and grandfathers, right? And I grew up around them, and I would have found it very difficult to communicate with them.
It's just the classic divide rule, really, isn't it? Like, what happened to the Jews on the one hand, what happened to the German people on the other? I think people often, they like take side one way or the other. It seems to me that both cultures were persecuted, but in different ways and used in different ways.
Every single country has done something terrible to another.
Yeah.
As a combined European group of migrants, all of us went out to North America. What have we done there?
Yeah, well, we didn't. Well,
what have we done to these
killed
original...
all the Native Americans in.
Yeah, approximately 300 million plus. What have we done?
Really? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers.
Yeah,
My goodness.
was over 300 million.
Blimey.
Yeah, I spoke to probably more than that, because they didn't divide between Canada, but the North American and as we call them, Indians. They didn't make a difference so much between America or today's America and Canada, you know, and also South America. For them, it was just one landmass. And they reckon even more than that. And I found that out by speaking to a North American chief.
So you feel more comfortable in the UK?
I feel totally comfortable in the UK.
When you came on the show last time, you said that you felt more comfortable in the UK. But is that the reason why? Because you don't have to hang your head in national shame or whatever nonsense.
I don't. I always felt, when I first got here, I felt, oh my word, you know, I was thinking, why can't I just wear a veil or something like that, you know? But then English people, British people in general, started talking to me and they say, are you crazy? You know, look at what your country, don't forget about all of it, don't forget it. But that's happened. There is nothing you can change.
Yes.
Or anyone. And you feeling guilty about what your ancestors did doesn't change anything either. Just look at what the beautiful art and the construction and the architecture.
BMWs.
Yeah.
Brilliant engineering.
Germany used to be called the country of the poets and thinkers. Speak to some young Germans these days.
Pretty damned awesome music.
From about 11 till lunch, and that's it.
Some pretty amazing music. You know, there's one piece of music that I'm not quite so keen on. Oh, I can't play it, actually. I haven't got it here. I thought I had it here. It's that EU anthem thing. But anyway, right, I won't play that and
the
frustrate
anthem.
Everyone. Oh, I mean, I loved that piece of music until it was
German
adopted.
National anthem. If you look at the tune, don't look at the words. Just listen to the tune.
Really?
And you might find out it's the English national anthem.
Oh, blimey! Yeah, that right. Okay, yeah, it's that time. It's that time. It's definitely beer o'clock. God bless you. Thank you so much for.
Okay, don't forget the kitten.
Lovely. All right. Cheers, Wolfcat. I
Bye.
will. I'll find it. God bless you. Call in again soon. Thank you. Yeah.
Will do. Bye bye.
Hey, Wolfcat. Oh, she's gone. I think she's Andrea. Right, okay, that's been Daily Brexit with the EU elections wrap. At least looking at the UK side of it, which wasn't boring. I got a bit excited last night, actually, when it was going on. I had to delete a few comments today when I've been a bit rude. That Emily Thornberry, basically. I mean, oh, that happened. Trying to be good. Yeah. Okay. See you tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Yeah. There you go. Right. Yeah. Want to say a big cheers to Robin Horsley for popping in with his analysis and assessment tonight on what's occurring. Oh, what's going on there? What's going on there? That's my machine. That's my RAM. There you go. And also to Boozy, old Chris Boozy. Thank you, Chris, for calling in, having a chat. And Wolfcat, thank you so much. I tell you, that was the highlight of the show, really. I mean, you can't really beat that kind of, hearing that stuff. Sins of the father, it's absolute nonsense to in any way be affected by that. And we are getting it. We're getting that across the Western world now. Absolute shit. It's almost impossible to put on Radio 4 without being, subjected to some program which is telling you that you're probably descended from a slave trader. That may be true. I don't know. But that's not really the point, is it? Okay, all right. That's enough from me. I'll catch you tomorrow, folks. God bless you. Let's I don't know, keep talking. Share the show, folks. Thank you. All that. Lots of love. See you tomorrow. Here's to us and bugger plutocracy.